Hi guys, welcome back to the Art of Server. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing an unboxing and review of this thing right here. This is the ICY DOCK MB975SP-B R1. I don't know how they came up with that name, but if you're looking to add 3.5-inch hard drives to a server or desktop machine that has 5.25-inch drive bays, this is the thing you want to check out, because this will allow you to add 5 3.5-inch drive bays in the space of 3 5.25-inch optical bays. And so what I have next to me here is the HP Z820, and as you can see, this has 1, 2, 3 5.25-inch drive bays, so this is a perfect fit for adding 5 hard drives to this machine or any other machine like this that has those 5.25-inch drive bays. All right guys, so before we get started, do me a favor and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm so more people can benefit from this video. And if you're new to this channel and you like this sort of stuff, consider subscribing to the channel. All right, let's get into it. All right, so for the sake of full disclosure, ICY DOCK did send this product to me for free, and I get to keep it after this review. But otherwise, no money has exchanged hands, and there are no stipulations as to what I can or cannot say about their product or brand. And so what I'm going to share with you today is purely my own opinion. All right, so let's go ahead and open this guy up. Now I have to say, even before ICY DOCK sent me these products to review, I've always been a fan of their products. As if you've been with my channel long enough, you know I've mentioned their stuff quite often. And I've used them in a lot of my personal builds, especially back when I was building servers out of like desktop parts. When you move over to rack mount type servers, you know, they already kind of come with a bunch of drive bays and hot swappable drive bays. So you don't really need this type of stuff as much anymore when you're doing a proper rack mount type of server setup. But, you know, there's still a lot of cases, and you guys probably have noticed that I've been doing a lot of videos talking about how to use like workstations and desktop PCs and stuff like that. And that's mainly because a lot of customers have reached out to me and said, hey, I don't really have a room for a server rack. I'm building in a old desktop PC, gaming rig, or whatever it is. And so I've been trying to come up with ideas that'll help you guys out. So anyway, this is the product here. Let's take it out of the foam. So very nice packaging. And how's this? Okay. So it's taped together. Pack of screws. This looks like it's for the hard drives. Well, no, actually no. This is because this is trayless. So this is actually, I think, for mounting in the 5.25-inch drive bays. All right, so they got this taped up here. Oh, there we go. Okay. So let's pull this out. All right, so this is top side. All right, so that's the unit. As you can see, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drive bays. Oh. This one looks a little bit crooked. I think, okay, it's okay. Probably just got beat up in shipping a little bit, which is not surprising. All right, yeah, everything lines up straight. All right, so there's 5 3.5-inch drive bays, and on the back, we have, I believe they said that this is an 80mm fan, and you've got 3 SATA power plugs to power all the drives in here, which is plenty. I don't think you really need all 3 of them, but they are there if you wanted to plug them all in. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 SATA plugs. Now these are SATA plugs, but this enclosure does also support SAS drives. So if you wanted to use SAS drives, that's totally okay. One thing that I kind of liked about, if you read the user guide to this, one thing that I really like about what ICY DOCK is doing with this is that they're telling you that basically this is a standard 80mm fan, and you're welcome to replace it. So if you want to replace it with possibly a quieter fan, like say from Noctua or something like that. 80 millimeters is pretty standard size, so you can easily remove this, and it has a 3-pin and 2-pin plug to run that fan. So no PWM, but a standard 3-pin fan is not hard to find. Also on the back here is a switch with 3 positions, and it says auto. Let's see if I can bring this up to the camera so you can see this. So it says auto, low, and high. And so this is basically your fan speed control. So obviously if you put it on high, it's just going to run the fans at maximum speed. If you put it on low, it's going to run it at a slow speed. And if you wanted to automatically manage the fan speed, because I do believe that there is some sort of temperature sensor in here, you can put it on auto. And the other nice thing about this is that if there are no drives in this enclosure, let's say maybe you're using this to swap out some drives that you're using for backups, and so you're swapping drives all the time. In that case, if the chassis or this enclosure detects that you're not drawing any power because there's no drives in it, it's going to, in an auto mode, it's going to automatically stop the fan. It's going to cut the fan out. So that's kind of nice that there's that ICY DOCK has kind of implemented some intelligence into the cooling management system of this. You don't often see that in other similar type of enclosures or from the competitors. So that's kind of cool that you can replace this fan and also have different settings on how you want to control that fan. On the front side here, this opens up. Let's see, you guys can see that there. All right, so you reach under here, there's a little push button down here, and you press on this, it opens up this lever, and then I think you can pull this. So it's kind of a 2-stage mechanism where I press that in. You kind of have to release this lever first and then pull on the lever, and it opens up the cover to the drive bay. And all these drive bays, and this is one thing I really love about ICY DOCK's products. They often design a lot of these products with a trayless mechanism. So there's no need to mount the hard drives into a tray like you would in a Dell server or Supermicro server. And granted, there's only 5 here, but you know, I've worked on a lot of servers with 24 bays, 36 bays, 48 bays, 60 bays, and mounting hard drive trays gets really tedious after a while. So so I can really appreciate this trayless design, and I just wish that everybody in the industry, whether you're building server chassis or whatever, would just simply use a trayless design like this. This is just totally awesome. So anyway, I love the trayless design. You guys can already tell. All right, so if you look in here, you can see that at the back here, if I close one of these, you'll see in the back there is a lever that helps eject the drive. And if you can't tell, it's made out of metal, right? So that's definitely metal, not like silver, plastic, or anything like that. And the linkage also, the linkage down here, hopefully you can see that, is also metal. So I'm pointing this out because a lot of products like this, there are other brands that make products similar to this, often end up using plastic for this mechanism. And this is probably one of the most stressful components when the drive is plugged in and it's basically being held on by that SAS connector or SATA connector there. And when you're trying to pull this out, sometimes it takes quite a bit of force. With plastic, I find that oftentimes the plastic will eventually wear out and break. And so then you can't really use that bay anymore because you can't pull the drive out. So that really sucks when that happens. But this is made out of metal. And so I think the likelihood of a problem like that is going to be much less. I mean, things can always break, okay? With enough force, things can always break. But the fact that it's made out of metal straight off the bat is a big plus to me. Now, let me close this up. Each of the drive bays have their individual activity LEDs. So when there's activity in that drive bay and the hard drive spinning up, it's connected and there's data IO going back and forth, this LED is going to flicker. So that's pretty normal, pretty standard. You're going to see that a lot in a lot of other products that are similar to this. But what's different about this thing, and I don't know if this is a good or bad feature, okay? But this LED is actually also a power switch. So when you press down on it, I think it's already, yeah, okay. So when it's in the recessed position, so right now, let me see, I'll bring it up to the camera so you can maybe, let's see if you can tell if that's, so that's in the upward position, and when it's depressed, okay, that powers on that drive bay. So you can actually individually power on and off these drive bays by pressing on this LED. And I think in a way, like I haven't seen that in other competitors' products. So in a way that's kind of neat, because let's say again, like if you're using this, say, to swap out drives for backup purposes and you're maybe rotating some drives, you know, it's nice to be able to power down the drive before you open and pull it out. I like that idea. However, on the other hand, what kind of concerns me is that, you know, what if you just accidentally press this in the middle of doing something on your machine? That wouldn't be a good day, right? So yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit conflicted about this feature. I think it's kind of neat that you can power on and off the drives, but I'm also a little concerned that you could accidentally power off a drive. So yeah, so I don't know what to think about that. I think that's kind of a plus, or, you know, it's both a good and a bad feature, perhaps, depending on the environment in here. If you're very, very careful, nobody ever touches your server anyway, or you're, you know, nobody would ever get close to this. This is sitting in a basement under a desk somewhere that's far away, then it might be okay. And maybe the only time that this would get depressed is if it's intentional. But if you're messing around with your machine a lot, or you've got little children that like to see what, you know, what you're doing with your computer and say, oh, look, you know, blinky lights, let me press on that, then it might not be such a great feature. All right, so anyway, that's it, just looking over this machine. Let's go ahead and attempt to put this in the Z820. All right, let's open up my Z820, and got to take out this cover in order to take out this shroud. And so here are the three 5¼ inch bays. And I really wish HP had kept these three bays for the Z840, which is my current workstation desktop, but they eliminated one of these, so I can only use the smaller version of what we're looking at today. So if you haven't seen this before, this is really easy to take out. There's no screws involved here. There's the spring-loaded lever that catches onto those whatever device you put in here, and once you bring this up, you can basically press these things out and they come straight out. And I think on the top one here, they put some cables. So I have to get those cables out of here. Yeah, okay. So HP likes to store some of the spare power cables, and we're going to use these. We can use these. So this is actually pretty neat. So there's two Molex type of power plugs here, which is great if you're using some older devices that might need that. The ICY DOCK device that we're using today requires, or has three, I don't know that it requires, but at least has three power plugs. And so this provides 3 SATA power plugs, which is perfect. Now, I'm not really sure, looking at the device here, they're on the bottom side. So I am a little concerned about whether these plugs will reach down there. So we'll try that out later on and see how that fits. All right, so stay out of the way. All right, just leave it there. All right, so we can plug this right in here. Oh, you know what? This is not going to fit. Yep, it's not. All right, so here's the problem. I didn't notice this at first, but if you're looking at this side here, this is the height of three 5 1/4 inch bays, but when these bays were originally designed, they weren't designed for one big device to fit in here. They were designed for 3 individual devices to be in here. And so there's these little metal tabs that you would normally rest the device on top of. And so this device doesn't have a little slot cut out for that. And so you're not going to be able to plug this in. Okay, so this is not going to be an easy fit. Now, yeah, they're on both sides here, aren't they? Yeah, they're on the left, the right and the left side too. So either one could cut these little metal tabs off on both sides to kind of make that open up and then install this. I think that would probably be the way to do it. But yeah, otherwise this is not going to work. All right, guys. Well, hey, at least now you know, right? And that's the whole point of this unboxing and review, is that I wanted to check this out. ICY DOCK does make these pretty high quality devices like this, but unfortunately, they did not put little slots here to accommodate for cases that have a little tab to hold up the individual 5 1/4 inch devices. So this is just not going to fit. So anyway, okay, so if you are looking at this and you're like, hey, this is pretty cool, I might want to get something like that, you might want to check out the case you're using and see if there are these little tabs that might kind of prevent this from actually fitting in there. So that's a consideration to take into account. All right, guys. So anyway, just wanted to share this with you. Hope this was useful. Hope you learned something. And although I still think these are wonderful devices, unfortunately, they're not going to fit easily in some cases that have these tabs separating each 5 1/4 inch drive bays. So, hey guys, Artist Server here. So I just wanted to add a little segment here at the end of the video, because it was really bugging me that the ICY DOCK unit didn't fit in the Z820, because I know I have installed something like that in a Z820 before, multiple times. And so I was just really bothered by that. And so I just kind of wanted to look into it a little bit more. And so I just came to Amazon and just did a search for other products that are similar to that ICY DOCK. And so I found a couple of things. So this is the unit that we were just reviewing in the video. And you can tell, like, this, well, it's actually kind of interesting. It's showing that it fits in the Z8, I think the more modern version of the Z840. And, there are no slots on the sides. So if your 5 1/4 inch drive bays have those little tabs that the Z820 has, this is not going to fit. And so I started looking at some other units. And so this is another unit also sold by ICY DOCK. And you can tell that on the side here, you can tell this is the side. Let me blow this up. You can tell this is the side because there's the mounting screw holes on the side here. This is the side, and there are, again, no slots, cutouts for those little tabs. So this is also not going to fit in the Z820. So I started looking at some other brands. Here's a Silverstone unit. And I actually have used this one before. And you can tell, let me blow it up. You can tell this is the side here because it's got the mounting screw holes. And again, there are no slotted cutouts for those tabs that you might have in your 5 1/4 inch drive bays. And again, this is a different brand, iStar USA, and I believe they also make the ones from Monoprice because they look absolutely identical. But in this picture, I can't blow it up, but, oh, well, yeah, it doesn't really blow up here, but you can tell that there's screw holes on the top of the picture here, and so that's probably the actual side. This is photographed sideways. And you can also see that there are no slotted cutouts to accommodate those tabs in the 5 1/4 inch drive bays. So I kept looking, and this is another unit by Kingwin. And again, blow this up, you'll see the screw hole, so that's the side, and again, no slotted cutouts. So none of these units that I'm showing you so far will fit the Z820 unless you modify and cut out those little tabs. Then I went to look at some slightly different ones, and so this is a unit that also fits in 3 5 1/4 inch drive bays, but it has 4 hard drive slots, 4 3.5 inch slots instead of 5. And here, if I blow it up, you can tell right here there is a slot to accommodate for those tabs that stick out in the 5 1/4 inch drive bays. So this actually would fit. And so I think what happened is that in the past, when I've set some Z820s up with these type of drive cages, I used a 4 drive bay version of this. Because if I look at here again is a StarTech version, and you can see this is 4 drive bays. I'll blow it up here, 4 drive bays, and then you'll see that there are cutout slots that would accommodate for those tabs. So this unit and the previous one would fit in the Z820. So if you are, here's another, yeah, I think this is just the same unit with different color front. But so if you are looking for something that will just fit in the Z820 without having to do any modifications, then look for a unit that only has 4 3.5 inch drive bays. And I think you'll likely find a unit that has these slotted cutouts to accommodate for those tabs that are sticking out. If you really want to use the 5 drive bay version, which I kind of prefer myself, then some modifications might be required, or you have to use a chassis that has 5 1/4 inch drive bays that without those tabs sticking out. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out to you guys because it was really kind of bothering me, because I remember having done something like this with Z820s before a couple of times, and I think I just didn't remember how many drive bays I was using. I probably ended up using 4 drive bay units instead of the 5 drive bay units. And so I want to point this out for a couple of reasons. One is that what can you do if you have a Z820, what would actually work and what would require a modification, right? And then the other thing is that I don't think the fact that the ICY DOCK unit doesn't have those slotted cutouts is a design flaw. Rather, I think it's just a physical limitation. I think when you're trying to fit that many drives in this space, there just isn't enough room to add those slotted cutouts to accommodate for those tabs. And so I think that's why we see all these different units that have the 5 3.5 inch drive bays all do not have that slotted cutout. And so that's just simply a physical limitation, not a design mistake or oversight or anything like that. So anyway, if you are going to use the 5 3.5 inch drive bay version of this, definitely check your chassis to see if you have those tabs. And if you do, you'll have to be willing to cut those out if you really want to use these. So anyway, just want to point that out. All right, well, that's it for today's video. If you liked it, please give me that like. And if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing if you like this sort of stuff and want to learn some more about server related products. And if you want to support my channel, go check out my eBay store. I'll leave a link down in the video description below. I've got the greatest selection of IT mode HBA SAS controllers. I've got all sorts of varieties from SAS 1, SAS 2, SAS 3. And so if you're building a TrueNAS machine or an Unraid machine or any other machine that requires an HBA SAS controller, go check out my store and support the channel. All right, thank you very much and have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.